Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm your course instructor Sania Gilani and we are back with another lecture. Today is lecture number 19 and today's topic is the Victorian age. In lecture 19 and 20 we are going to talk about the Victorian age. So we are going to divide this age uh, based upon the writers. In this first lecture we are going to talk about this age as the age of doubt and duty, which lasted from 1830 to 1880. What was this age about, and why is the Victorian age so important? We are going to discuss about that. But as always, let's start with a little reflection. Can a society be deeply religious, morally strict, and yet profoundly uncertain in its own beliefs? This paradox is what defines the Victorian age, the period roughly between 1830 to 1880 in England. It was a time of enormous pride in progress, empire, and morality, yet also a time of fear, confusion, and doubt in its people. Factories filled the air with smoke. Charles Darwin challenged creation, and the people began to question truths that had guided them for so long. They started to question our own purpose and our own existence in life. Today's lecture is titled The Age of Doubt and Duty, the paradox of duty, responsibility, and also when that duty is filled with doubt. So, in this, we are going to explore how Victorian writers try to hold on to faith and moral responsibility while the ground beneath them was shifting. To understand Victorian age, imagine stepping into 19th century England. What do you expect to see around you? The old romantic poets that had celebrated imagination and emotion, they were now basically going extinct. Many of them were dying at this point, or they were getting older. But by the 1830, England was now entering a new period, a much more practical period, unlike the Romantics. If the Romantics were a lot more, you can say, imaginative and idealists in their vision, the Victorians were quite realistic in their approach. They even their literature reflected that. They wrote literature that was realistic and that was reflective of the society in which they were living, because for them art had a purpose. Art can be for entertainment, but at its core art can also influence others. So steam engines were roaring, railway tracks were connecting cities, and London was becoming the capital of an empire on which the sun never set. There's a little bit of a problem in this statement, but we will break it down when we talk about post modern age. But coming back to Victorian age, progress always has a price. If industrialization made people's life easier and also allowed for transportation quicker, it also crowded the slums where poor people live. It opened doors for child labor, pollution, and the growing inequality and injustices. Just imagine this scenario, like if we talk about our own society, the rich were becoming super rich, super wealthy, while the poor were becoming poorer day by day. They did not even have basic necessities to live. So, despite these inequalities on the surface, science was still challenging religion. So, you had different approaches. This was an age of, you can say, quite a turmoil. At one point, industrialization was changing people's lives altogether. Economic prosperity meant the employers were becoming richer, but the employees were becoming poorer. They were lacking resources on what to do. Simultaneously, people started to question their own religion and morality. Charles Darwin, we have all heard his name, especially those who studied biology in their previous classes. Charles Darwin belonged to this age. He published a collection on the origin of species in 1859. He questioned the biblical story of creation. For many Victorians, this was not a scientific theory, it was a spiritual earthquake because this entire foundation of England was based on their religious belief on Christianity. Writers could no longer rely on old certainties. Literature became a space of struggle where belief, doubt, and moral duty was starting to collide. Now, I gave you a little bit of historical context. Let's talk about the three words faith, duty, and work. How are these words important in the Victorian ethos? These words basically summarize the entire concept of Victorian literature and Victorian society. Life was seen as a moral mission. Respectability, honesty, and effort were virtues, while literature was expected to teach as well as delight at the same time. But beneath this moral confidence lay an unease, an anxiety that the world was rapidly changing, and many people could not keep up with the change. Victorian writers sought to preserve meaning through moral questioning, moral storytelling, and the poetry of conscience. They also wrote essays that warned against materialism and the rapid industrialization. I talked about industrialization, but how was industrialization impactful in developing the social conscience of the age, and what is industrialization? Industrialization is basically socio-economic revolution during the 18th and 19th century where the entire world transformed. The Industrial Revolution transformed not only machines but also souls. England was becoming a developed nation from just a developing agricultural state. It was becoming a place where people were educated and people were moving away from countries. They were moving towards cities. As a result, people were becoming reliant on factories. Cities swelled the factories. Cities swelled with factory smoke, and the rich grew richer. The poor were starting to become invisible. In this particular age, when everything was shaking, writers like Thomas Carlyle became the prophets of conscience. In his work, Past and Present, published in 1843, Carlyle attacked the cash nexus society, a world where relationships were measured by money. They talked about this problem so many years ago, yet we still face that. He argued that a nation without spiritual values was doomed, no matter how advanced its machines. Don't you think he is still right? We are still running after material possessions, yet our lives aren't getting better. Carlyle's cry for moral regeneration influenced essays such as John Ruskin and novels like Charles Dickens. Literature for them was to awaken compassion and reform injustices in society. After Carlyle, a very big name in this Victorian landscape was Alfred Lord Tennyson. He was the voice of the age. His poetry speaks of the Victorian soul, reverent yet questioning. His most famous work, In Memoriam, published in 1850, was written for his lost friend Arthur Hallam, in which he wrestled with the conflict between science and faith. Their lives their lives were more about faith and honesty, unlike doubt. Now I'm going to read a few lines from the poem to show you what was the message he was talking about. Their lives were more faith in honest doubt, believe me, than in half the creed. Here, doubt itself becomes a sacred act, proof of an intellectual seeking truth. These lines are from In Memoriam, in which he talked about doubt and how truth is lurking beneath that layer of doubt. When you question something, that is when you want to know the correct answer. In his next work, Ulysses. By the way, Ulysses is the poetry collection Ulysses is written by Tennyson, while the book was written by someone else. It was so talking about Ulysses. What was the message given here? In this, he gave the motto of preservation, that to strike, to seek, to find, and not to yield. That's the spirit of Victorian age. For him, courage was amid confusion. The bravest of us all are those who stand outside their fears and despite their confusion. Next big name was Elizabeth Barrett Browning of during this age. She was the voice of compassion. Where Tennyson searched for faith, Elizabeth Barrett Browning demanded justice. In her work, The Cry of the Children, first published in 1843, she exposes the misery of child labor. Following our lines from her work, do ye hear the children weeping? Oh, my brothers. These outcries that she talked about in her works resembled early Urdu writers like ours. You can compare them with our works of, you can say, spiritual awakenment and Sufism, in which the writers awoke conscience of the sleeping society. After Elizabeth Barrett Browning, you have a big name, Matthew Arnold. He was the poet of spiritual despair. As the age advanced, belief was weakening in the people. In Matthew Arnold's Dover Beach, he captures the loneliness of a world losing their faith. In basically, for Matthew Arnold, you cannot separate our faith from our lives. In the sea of faith, we only hear melancholy, long, withdrawing roars and screams. He feared that without faith, society would sink into chaos. In his other work, In Culture and Anarchy, published in 1869, he proposed culture, a disciplined pursuit of beauty and reason, as a new moral compass. Arnold's anxiety mirrors that of writers like Sir Syed Ahmad Khan in the colonial England. Both writers sought to reconcile religion with modern thought through education and moral refinement. Another big name of this age is Robert Browning. Robert Browning was the husband of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. So both of them, husband and wife, became successful poets. For Robert Browning, faith was seen through struggle. He offered a more optimistic note. His dramatic monologues probed into human motives of jealousy, pride, ambition. But also he was resisting that religion, faith grows from imperfections. In his famous in Rabbi Ben Ezra, he writes, grow old along with me, the best is yet to be. Unlike Arnold's melancholy, Browning's faith in active for life forged a new path coming forward. He turned doubt into our energy. For Victorians, every Victorian had a different sentiment on how they viewed religion. Today we talked about Victorian poets like Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Robert Browning, Matthew Arnold, Alfred Lord Tennyson. In the next lecture, we are going to talk about Victorian novels, which were the cornerstone of this age. To conclude this lecture, the Victorians believed fervently in progress, moral, scientific, and social progress. Writers like John Ruskin taught that art and labor reveal the moral state of a nation. In his work in On to This Last, published in 1860, he claimed economics must serve the human spirit, not greed, yet the same progress that built cities also deepened inequality and empire. The Victorians celebrated order, but their confidence trembled beneath the surface. So, question for you guys. Can a society be moral yet uncertain? Yes, the Victorians answered that. They lived in tension between faith and doubt, duty and desire, progress and pain. Yet, instead of trying to escape it, they transformed that struggle into art, something that is beautiful. Their literature remains valuable to us even after so many years. Even in our own country, in Pakistan, it is still relevant because whenever we negotiate between tradition and modernity, religion and reason, or moral convictions and social change, we are basically reflecting on a Victorian sentiment. Writers like Tennyson, Arnold, and Elizabeth Browning and Robert Browning teach us that moral inquiry is not weakness, it is courage. As we move to our next lecture, remember the Victorians wrote not to preach perfection, but to search meaning in an imperfect world. For them, the greatest courage is when you are able to flourish in imperfections, in confusion. Key takeaways from this lecture include the Victorian literature reflects humanity's ongoing efforts to stay faithful, compassionate, and hopeful amid doubt and transformation. The age that we are currently living in is also full of doubt and uncertainties. So maybe we can learn a thing or two from the Victorian writers. In till next lecture, this is all for today. Allah Hafiz. See you guys soon.